Good afternoon. May I request the audience to be seated, please? Thank you. We welcome one and all to the 57th edition of the Leather Research, Industry and Government Conclave 2024. May I request our distinguished guest of the day to grace the dais, please. We have with us Dr. Shri R.K. Jalan, Chairman, Council of Leather Exports, Shri V. Naushad, President CIFI, and Dr. Ramanuj Narayan, Director, CSIR-IMMT, Bhubaneswar. Can we have a round of applause for our audience, please? Thank you. We begin this momentous occasion with the invocation of the Tamartai Vartha. May I kindly request all of you to rise for the invocation. Thank you. May I now request our Director, Dr. K.J. Sriram sir, to welcome our guest as a token of respect for the gracious presence today with us. May I request sir to present a small gift to Shri R.K. Jalan, Chairman, Council for Leather Exports. I request sir to present a token of appreciation to Shri V. Naushad, President CIFI. And to Dr. Ramanuj Narayan, Director, CSIR-IMMT, Bhubaneswar. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be requesting Dr. Arvindan sir, Senior Principal Scientist at CSIR-CLRI, to deliver the welcome address, please.
Good evening, one and all. A warm welcome to the 57th edition of the LERIG Conclave 2024. It is with great pleasure that I, on behalf of Director CSIR-CLRI and President LERIG Trust, welcome you all to this prestigious event organized by CSIR Central Leather Research Institute. For those who may not be familiar, LERIG stands for Leather Research Industry Get-Together. This LERIG Conclave brings together stakeholders from the leather industry, including researchers, scientists, industry experts, and policymakers to discuss the latest trends, challenges, and opportunities in the leather sector. We are honored to have with us today our esteemed chief guest, Sri Rajendra Kumar Jalanji, Chairman, Council of Leather Exports, and a renowned person in the field of leather. Your presence here today adds immense value to this event, sir. We are also delighted to have our guest of honor, Sri V. Naushad, Founder and Managing Director of Wakra Footwear and the President, Confederation of Indian Footwear Industries. Your insights and experiences will undoubtedly enrich our discussions during this event, sir. It also gives us immense pleasure in welcoming our guest of honor, Dr. Ramanuj Narayan, Director, CSIR Institute of Minerals and Materials Technology. I am also privileged to welcome all our retired staff members of CSIR-CLRI, head of departments, fellow scientists, administrative staff, research scholars, and my loving students to this LERIG Conclave. We hope that this event will provide a platform for knowledge sharing, networking, and collaboration. We are confident that it will be a fruitful experience for all of us. Thank you once again for your presence. Let us make this event a resounding success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I welcome Shri V. Naushad, President of the Confederation of Indian Footwear Industries, as a guest of honor to deliver the address, please.
Respected Jalan sir, Sriram sir, dignities in the dais, on the dais and off the dais, and my dear friends. We all know that the country is progressing and everybody is looking into India because more opportunities are coming up in India. And to utilize this opportunity, we have to be very competitive. To become competitive, we have to be innovative. We want to be up to date, and we have to be consumer-centric. Just now, I was discussing with Shafiq sir. He told he was also there in China last 1 week before. And we can see a lot of Indians now in China to purchase material, purchase finished goods, materials, and other things. Just now I was... So we have prestigious research organizations, and we have very good scientists, technologists, and we are not behind in anything. But unfortunately, that consumer mindset and the trader mindset is dominating than manufacturing mindset. So we need entrepreneurship. Because 25 years back, when China was booming, the Europeans were afraid to take a machine to China because they're afraid that if they see the machine, they will copy it and they start manufacturing that machine. So most of them afraid to take the machine for an exhibition to China, even though China is a big market. But that type of enthusiasm, unfortunately, we need, because we have all the capability. And we have a lot of positive things. China is aging, but still they can manage their manufacturing due to automation and robotics. They will manage to a great extent. But they cannot manage the people, because people are getting old. And the purchasing attitude of a youth is much higher. Their spend is much higher. And when we get aged, it will come down. So in India, the demography, we are young. We are a young country. And our purchasing power will grow up. And in coming 5-10 years, a major growth will happen in India. So wherever we go, whenever we approach material suppliers, product manufacturers, they are all aiming future India. So after few years, India needs this. So they're starting developing those products, those materials, those technologies. But when we see in India, majority are small and medium organizations. Our interaction with academia is relatively less. I'm not blaming industry or I'm not blaming academia. As a citizen, it's our responsibility to improve the relationship. Because technology is there. So even very simple, outdated PVC formulation, industry doesn't know. Rubber Hawaii formulation, we may not, most of them are not using the best formulation. EVA compound formulation. And now if we see the ETPU, liquid, super liquid thermoplastic TPU, we don't have at all, because now that all we are depending on the import of semi-finished salts and products. We are not, the industry is not trying for that. But I am sure that all these technologies may be lying in some or other research organizations in India. So the alignment, we need to improve the alignment, and we need to align everything towards the national progress, because in all of our mind, we should put that country should grow. If the country want to grow, we should start manufacturing all these things. Otherwise, we'll become a consumer of these Chinese goods. All these Chinese goods are coming at a very undervalued situation, because it's very shameful to know that people are bringing all these products at a very low value without paying duty and all. But the trader community is very strong in India, and but consumers, they are looking only the price and the quality of the product. They are not looking whether it is made in India or whether it is imported or not. So they are able to sell it in a good manner. So it's time to think about Make in India and Vikasit Bharat, because the government have a clear view, but we need to align everybody, including, because we have very good scientists, because in space and all, we are able to do. But why we are not able to do in other industries? So we are not thinking in that way. Once we think, everything is possible. So, and now I am representing the Confederation of Indian Footwear Industries. I am very happy that now CLRI is very open, and the entire, and everybody, not only CLRI, CLE and government, everybody is supporting the development in all areas. But we need initiative, we need more interaction, and we need to take this forward. And I am sure that if we work together, nothing is impossible. We will be able to overcome any country in a very shorter time. I would like to thank CLRI for giving this opportunity to Sufi and me. And I'm sure that a lot of research is happening in this right direction, and this will help us to make India ahead in footwear also. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your perspective on strengthening our manufacturing capabilities. May I now request our director, Dr. K.J. Sriram, sir, to present a memento to Shri V. Naushad ji, please. Can we have a round of applause from the audience? Thank you. And may I request Dr. Ramanuj Narayan, Director of CSIR-IMT Bhubaneswar, to address the audience, please.
Chief guest of today, Sri Jalan Sahab, Sri Naushad ji, my senior colleague, Dr. Sriram sir, in the audience, the patriots of Indian science, Dr. Ramaswamy sir, Chandrasekharan sir, and all my seniors and peers, the persons who are leading the leather industry, invitees, fellow colleagues from CLRI, and all my dear students. At the outset, I must thank Sri Ram sir for giving me opportunity to talk to this very, very important 57th edition of this meeting and interactions to know about each other, to share about our knowledge. Being a material man, that whether I am in a chemical or in the material sector, we feel that we are connected to each and every aspect of the application. If coming to leather and materials, leather is directly proportional to the development of materials, and today we have seen that we are going towards the leather-like materials or synthetic leather. And if you want to add value to any leather, then you have to come back to the coatings, to the coloring, to the pigmentation, and the material science, how it has progressed. People are thinking or working. Today also we have seen a very big leap forward in the leather sector by thinking, can we develop antifungal, antimicrobial, self-recoverable, self-healing. So many aspects that materials, and it is possible. The chemistry, what has been started jointly with CLRI and IICT, that two labs of the country has started working on polyurethane, and being in the industry, you know very well that what is the relevance of polyurethane for the leather industry is. Whether you are looking for the thermoplastics or thermoplastic-based system, if you want to add functionality, it's such a reactive system and such a small oligomer to polymer, and you have all the resources in India. Just now, Nosad ji was talking about that how it can be expanded, that the knowledge base, whatever we have generated, we have to come together. The missing link, because all the industry friends has to act like a homeopathy doctor. We have to bring back the legacy of Naidamma sir. We have to bring the legacy of Ramaswamy sir, that whenever I used to discuss with him, we used to go to industry, or industry will come to us, and unless you will tell the program in a homeopathy manner that how details is required, and that connect we have to bring it back. And I know the type of young talents, the type of scientists, the type of facility we have. We have all the power to provide you solution from the indigenous material. India is having the plenty of raw material for development. All the labs, whether it is of CSIR, DST, DBT, please use it. And we are there to help you in any aspect. Coming back, the two aspects we have to look into for future: sustainability. Any lab, any science, whether you are going to pharma, to leather, to coating, to any industry, sustainability is key. A concept was started in 1996-95, that is the LCA, life cycle approach, that whatever material you start, there should not be any waste, and whatever byproducts is coming, that also has to be utilized. In that, under the leadership of Dr. Sriram, in chemical theme, we have started a specialty chemical mission. In that, one of the aspects what we have taken, castor. India is the largest producer of castor in the world after Brazil, but now Brazil has gone past. But India is the highest producer. But what we do, other than little bit of consumption in polymer making or coating making, everything is going to China. Or we are selling at 90 rupees to 100 rupees kg, and we are bringing back as an additive, whether it is for leather or paints or anything, 40,000, 60,000 rupees. And the type of chemistry it has. It is a wonder material, so you can create wonderful things, but even for our leather, that foam or coatings or transparent coating, they one hydroxy group and plus double bond, this type of oil you will never get in the country. coming back to nanotechnology, whatever has been applied, that can apply to our leather industry. So we are there to help you. Right now, I am leading the Institute of Minerals and Material. One of the aspects that today all of you look for, critical minerals. Critical minerals is coming from the waste, not from the real mining. India doesn't have mines. In the platinum group of metal, we got from chromite overburden, and India's first pilot plant is going to come with CSIR and Odisha Mining Corporation by this year, March. We are getting from the overburden, so we have to relook like that in the complete leather value chain. We have to utilize each and everything. That place, whatever support is required, we are there to help you, to work with you, and we never feel that we are less than any country. Our scientists, our students, and our industry are capable of doing that. Please relook, have a trust on us, work together, tell us the problem, suggest the problem. We ensure you the solution. Thank you for giving this much opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the importance of indigenous materials and to build a sustainable landscape. And may I request our director, Dr. K.J. Sriram, to present a memento to Dr. Ramanujan Narayan ji, please. Thank you, sir. May I now request our chief guest of the day, Shri R.K. Jalanji, Chairman for the Council of Leather Experts, to address the gathering, please.
Good afternoon, respected Dr. T. Ramasamy, Padma Shri awardee, Dr. Sriram, Director CRI, Dr. Chandrasekhar, former director of the CLRI, our executive director of the Central Council for Leather Exports, Mr. Selvam, Manoj, Shafiq, Wahab, our regional chairman, and of course my dear friend Ramesh and all other friends from the industry, staff from CLE, eminent scientists present here, and the students. A very good afternoon to you. Actually, this is the first time I am invited to speak in CLRI in an open forum. I must share with you, after doing my graduation in chemical engineering, I spent 1 year undergoing the dirty job of, which has become a breadwinner now, running, being trained in the tannery here in CLRI. And there was a hostel. I was just discussing with our executive director, which was almost run down. I was living here in the hostel in the CLRI, and now this is almost kind of a 5-star hotel, the guest house here, sir. Thank you very much. That was a real, very different experience when I was sitting for 15 minutes, 20 minutes here. As far as the role of the CLRI is concerned, I believe anybody and everybody who is in this industry, they owe a lot to CLRI. Whatever we are today, whatever progress we have made today, whether it is environmental situation or the processing, it's all because of the innovative role done by CLRI time over the years. It is not Dr. Sriram, it is not only Dr. T. Ramasamy, but all the scientists have done a great job. And I'm really glad that Wahab has just, because we as an industry has also to encourage CLRI and work collectively so this institution can go take next steps and move forward. I was part of the Research Council deliberations this morning, and fortunately we discussed what the industry needs most. The scientists are of the CLRI working in that direction, what the industry needs most at this time. And I was really pleased what I saw in a short time this morning. You know, industry itself has set up an ambitious target of $47 billion. That does not mean that's not export. That means everything, whether it is non-leather footwear, non-leather products, leather footwear, means we all know that we are talking that per capita consumption is 1.8, which is going to go to 4, where we are going to get the shoes. So we all have to collectively work towards that. But there are few things. Everybody is talking about sustainability. Sustainability is going to be the key word because the world is going to create some non-tariff barriers when they will see that India is coming up. My friend Naushad talked that Shafiq has said that Canton Fair is meant for Indians. So at least the China is also recognizing that we have the buying power. It's not, now I must say, I used to travel earlier to China and Vietnam, they were looking at us differently. But when I traveled recently to China and Vietnam, they were treating us with respect because they know that this country is the future to the world. And it is the future of the future factory of the world. That's true, and means that I think Dr. Ramanujam as well as Naushad, everybody has emphasized that, and I do agree with, but we need to collectively progress fast in the sense, and especially, sir, Dr. Shriram, for you, we have to develop, I think you are working in that direction, your scientists are working in direction. We should be ready, Industry 4.0. Internet of Things, you know everything, artificial intelligence, I don't have to say that again and again, but these virtual reality, artificial intelligence, these are going to be the things of the future. Not future, means that they are going to come in the immediate, in the very near future. And we as an industry also have to spend money towards that to upgrade ourselves. Otherwise, we will be left behind. That's my personal opinion. It's not, but this is the perception which I got while talking to the international people. So we must do something, not to depend everything on the government or our institution. Let's work together with them. So that's one thing. And sustainability, as I said, this is going to be the next non-tariff barrier. We all know what Germans are doing with the deforestation law, with the carbon restrictions. Of course, the carbon thing has not come on the leather industry as yet, but deforestation, this has been put off up to 31st of December 2025, if my memory is right. But one day or the other, it is going to come. It may be put off another 1 year, but that's going to happen. And we also see what's happening in the world. I just said in the RC meeting that I never saw such a warm weather in Chennai in the month of November, what I have seen on this trip. So that's the reason I brought this jacket. Otherwise, I would not have even brought the jacket. So, sir, I know you are also working on this about the shredded cuttings and solid waste generated from the industry and the circularity processes. That's a must. We must go for this. I am not here to talk about any government assistances because you never know. I think the government wants us all the industries to stand on their own feet. So I don't expect anything, but we definitely, as a Council for Leather Exports, are fighting or putting our point with the government that what needs to be done as a policy should be addressed ASAP. And some progress has been made, and I hope that there will be other things which is other relaxations may come in the next budget. One more thing, sir, which we as a country we need to promote is the ethnicity of this country, which you already talked during the RC about the Kolhapuri chappals. There are few more things which are left out, I think, indoor toys and also the Shanti Niketan bags. I'm sure that Regional Office Calcutta must be doing something about the Shanti Niketan bags. I don't know if they have the GI or not, but Harness and Saddlery has the GI. If they don't have the GI, we as an industry, sir, we should work to get the Shanti Niketan bags, the GI. Sir, ED sir, also I would request you that if we don't have the GI on the Shanti Niketan bags, I think we should try to get on the Shanti Niketan products, because it is for that region. So we should try to get the GI. I am also told, and I think you probably will know better, that the goat and sheep population over time is going to become stagnant. Sheep. And it is only the bovine population which is going to grow. So as CLRI, you need to work hard, whereby we develop more towards the bovine hides, new processes and new technologies. And in the end, as we said before, sir, the alternative raw material, because the world is going towards non-leather. And whatever we can do to pitch in the non-leather products, and especially how to make them sustainable. I mean, initially, if they are even, the life cycle is little more, but still that would work. But at least we have to take that step first. Dr. Ramanujam, he has sent a very good thing about the Industry Connect. And I think starting from Dr. Ramasamy, everybody at CLRI has taken that step. And I can for sure tell Dr. Chandrasekhar and Dr. Shriram, they are really involved and work very close with the industry. They are looking, and that is the reason in the RC also, we have been talking about that what the industry wants. And the Industry Connect is good, and then definitely it can always be improved. So I think I have given as a lot of things as an industry perspective to you, sir. These words. Once again, thank you for having me here. To be honest with you, I am really thrilled because this is the first time where I was a student. When you talk somewhere where you have been a student, that gives you a different feeling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for reminiscing your cherished memories and also for inspiring us to stand alongside the global leaders. And may I request our director, Dr. K.J. Shriram, to present a memento to Shri R.K. Jalanji, please. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely honored to welcome our director, Dr. K.J. Shriram, to deliver the presidential address, please.
Leaders of the industry, my gurus, friends from the institute, media, and all those people who have joined us online for this inauguration of the LERIG CONCLAVE 2024. In the first place, let me pay my tributes to Dr. Naidoma, who started off this concept as a tanners get-together in the 1960s. And subsequently, Dr. Tyagarajan converted this into a leather research industry get-together. Subsequently, in 2021, up till 21, the LERIG had a theme every year. From 2021 onwards, Dr. Ramasamy suggested that LERIGs will be more towards science research innovation system for high trade benefits to India, or SRISHTI in short. So from 21 onwards, we have not been going LERIG as thematic, but rather with that particular focus. And this particular LERIG is also in the same direction. With the national policy on leather and footwear coming in, we thought it appropriate that we would discuss between today and tomorrow 4 major aspects that would determine our roadmap for the number which Chairman CLE just spoke about. One was that business as usual would not take us there, and we need to be different. And so the first session that we will have just immediately after this is to look at it from the industry perspective as to what are the R&D needs for both leather and footwear sector. So once we start off from that aspect, then institutions like the Central Leather Research Institute, in association with other organizations, can start working on the same, and we can look at how R&D can benefit this particular sector. Tomorrow morning, the first session, we are looking at what is that which will challenge us or strengthen us in the future. We have been talking about sustainability as a particular terminology. We have been talking about aspects of LWG, ZDHC, all those kind of terms which are coming in. And we need to really go back and start looking at how do they all influence, or how do we ensure that they don't play a role in a major way in our roadmap to achieve the target, because they cannot be roadblocks, but rather facilitators. The next particular aspect that we would like to focus on is something which we have been all talking about, is indigenization of machineries. We all realize that the terminology indigenization of machinery is a very, very big term. We may have to prioritize. Where do we start in India? Practically, we may say that we are just at about 5% of our requirements or lesser than that when it comes to machinery for the sector. And we may have to look at where do we start, which are the bodies that we should get in, and how do we move forward. So this is one aspect that we will have to look at. Everyone in the dais, and of course, a larger part of the Research Council meeting which we had in the morning, spoke about materials for footwear. And in that, if we were to cover the feet of everyone with the footwear, leather is not going to be sufficient enough, and non-leather materials will be the focus. So where is India going to get all these materials from? Are we going to be dependent on somebody, or are we over a period of time going to have our own material? Because dependence on another system for our raw material can hamper our progress at any point of time. So these are certain things that the LERIG would like to address. We hope that all of you people who have joined here physically or through the virtual mode would be able to add values to the whole discussion. And we are sure that these discussions would be taken into consideration when DPIIT finalizes the entire policy program and also other aspects of it. So these are few things that LERIG 2024 would like to address upon. And I hope all of you would add values to these discussions. Only a select few people, because of want of time, have been invited to be in the forum on the dais, but I'm very sure all of you can participate and give us inputs in whichever way that you may feel on these lines, so that we can aggregate them post-LERIG and work on it. So these are a few things that I would like to say about LERIG 2024. Just before I close, let me also just highlight to you what happened in the Research Council of the Central Leather Research Institute today. Based on the industry discussions and others, we have categorized the entire research programs of CLRI in 3 major areas, which has been on sustainability, materials for footwear, and a third one on collagen-based biomaterials. So the third category is essentially looking at those skins which don't go to the leather sector. Do they go into higher value materials, into cosmetics, pharmaceutics, et cetera, et cetera? So we are not just talking about leather, but we are holistically looking at the skin or the hide itself. And we have an overall responsibility today to look at the animal population and the availability of hides and skins, and how do we best utilize these materials and gain value from them. I hope you will all join us through the program between today and tomorrow and add value to the discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for having set the stage for the upcoming panel discussions to explore new ideas. And as we conclude the inaugural session, may I request Dr. Shakila Shobna to deliver the proposal of thanks, please.
Thank you, Ms. Banushree. A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my immense pleasure to propose the vote of thanks. I would like to thank one and all present here for your gracious presence. My heartfelt thanks to our chief guest, Shri R.K. Jalan Saab, Chairman, Council for Leather Exports, for his kind presence and address. I thank Shri V. Naushad, President, Confederation of Indian Footwear Industries, for gracing this occasion as a guest of honor. My heartfelt thanks to Dr. Ramanuj Narayan, Director, CSIR Institute of Minerals and Materials Technology, for being our guest of honor in today's function. I thank Dr. K.J. Sriram, Director, CSIR-CLRI, for presiding over the function. I thank the members of the industry, policymakers, members of Alpha, ILTA, distinguished scientists, emeritus scientists, and other CSIR family members, members from academy, student community, and all other stakeholders who have joined online and offline for your unstinted support to the Institute in all our endeavors. My sincere gratitude to Dr. T. Ramasamy, TR Sir, for your esteemed presence here today. My thanks are due to the media personnel present here. I thank all the members of the organizing team and the support team, engineering services, IT department, AC, instrumentation, and lab maintenance for their benevolent support. Finally, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our director for his stupendous and diligent support in organizing this program. I thank one and all present here for your gracious presence in making this program successful. Thank you all once again. We now come to the end of the inaugural session and shall continue with the panel discussion on R&D needs for meeting the goals of national policy of leather and footwear sector.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be proceeding with the rest of the day's program, which is an important panel discussion on R&D needs for meeting the goals of the national policy for the leather and footwear sector. It's also our honor to request Shri R.K. Jalanji to moderate this session, please. And may I also request Shri R.K. Jalanji to grace the dais, along with Shri Naushad, President CIFI, and Shri R. Selvam, IAS Executive Director of CLE, Shri Manoj Bhaiya from CNE Limited, and Dr. KJ Sriram, our Director at CSIR-CLRI. And we also have Dr. Saurabh Joglekar, who's the Assistant Professor at LITU, who will be joining us online. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We are sitting here to discuss about the national policy on the leather and footwear and the goals. So what should be the direction? As our chairman has just said, that it's a huge task ahead for us. On the export front, it will be 12 billion, and the domestic as such, that will come in the other part of that 47 billion share. So we have from almost last year was $4.7 billion of export, and this time was maybe we'll end up with a good growth of 5 billion. From there to 12 billion. It's a very daunting but achievable task. And this is already, if from the southern side, I would say that a lot of investments are coming into our state in terms of the athletic footwear. So that is a very great opportunity for the state and the job creation as well. But we need to put in the proper ecosystem. The ecosystem that we talk about is generally this how the ancillary industries, as we all said just now, not leather alone will not be sufficient. We need to talk about the non-leather, the PUs and the PVCs and all the parts of the athletic footwear. Not just alone the footwear, the leather goods industry also is a very big opportunity for which I am part of that one. I have a major share in the export there. So this is a big opportunity. Without taking much time, we need to come up with addressing all the needs of the footwear as well as the leather goods. And the background of this one, like tannery, we should have a proper PVC, PUs that will support this full growth opportunity of this industry.
Yeah, am I audible? Yeah, you're audible, sir, please. Yeah, fantastic. Let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen? Not yet, sir. Just a minute. So you have a share button on your corner? Yes. So you have to press that. Or otherwise, if you want, we will share the slides from here. Yeah, it would be better if you share the presentation. I've already shared the soft copy with you. Yes, yes, I can see this. Yeah, very good afternoon to one and all. Honorable Director, CLRI, Dr. Sriram sir, uh, all the panelists, Shri R.K. Jalanji, the chair of this panel discussion, and all fellow panelists. A very good afternoon. I'm going to talk about life cycle assessment, as Dr. Ramanujan had, in his address, had talked about life cycle assessment being one of the tool which is used which is used across domain to basically understand about the life cycle emissions. This particular tool, though it was developed for construction sector, but it has found its application in various domains, right from chemicals, basically all the domains where there is very high energy intensive domains, very high amount of resources that are being consumed. This particular tool has found to be very beneficial. Can we go to the next slide? So this is something about my university that I represent. I'm a part of Department of Chemical Engineering, and I have done my PhD in Sustainability Studies from VNIT Nagpur, wherein the majority of my work was around application of life cycle assessment and creation of a framework for estimating overall sustainability of a product or process. Next slide, please. So these are the contents. We are going to talk about climate change evidences. There is a lot of buzzword of sustainability throughout sectors. Why everyone is talking about sustainability? What is India's contribution now? There is an intended nationally determined contribution commitments by India. And then we'll jump to life cycle assessment, which is all about how to do life cycle assessment. A methodology that we are going to look after, and popular softwares. Those are the softwares which are generally used throughout for conducting life cycle assessment, and also the role of governmental institution, role of industry, role of academia. All of these things we are going to discuss in a very short span now. Next slide, please. So climate change, right from 2021, every year every year is getting hotter and hotter. We are 2023 was the 6th warmest year on record based on NOAA's temperature data. The surface temperature was 2.12 degrees warmer than the 20th century average. The rate of heating has been 3 times to the rate of heating before 1982. So there are clear signs that the surface temperature is getting hotter, and that is the reason why everyone is talking about sustainability. And when it comes to issues such as global warming, the major attraction or the major research area or the major component where everyone is looking out for are the resource intensive processes and products, where leather also is one of the products. It is energy, textile, steel, right? So among them also, wherever there is very high resources that are consumed, such domains are going to be extremely important in addressing this global warming. Next slide, please. Laboratories across the globe have been reporting increase in the average temperature, and which is being very evident. So next slide, please. India has been taking initiatives with clean and efficient energy systems, enhancing energy efficiency in industries, development of climate resilience, urban structure, waste to wealth promotion, safe and sustainable green transportation, afforestation. So Government of India has also been taking up various initiatives addressing these many mitigation strategies, and all of these things have already been committed by India in the INDC, which comes to the next slide. Can you go to the next slide, please? So these are 8 points where intended nationally determined contributions were made by India, wherein all the countries around the globe came together and gave up their commitments in addressing this global warming, right? So if you can see point number 3, to reduce emission intensity of its GDP by 33 to 35% from 2030 level by 2030 from 2005 level. This we have already achieved in the year 2021. That's why we had updated this commitment that we will decrease our emission intensity to 45%. So the reason why about this slide is all of these, all the Government of India initiatives that you are going to come across would be linked to these 7-8 points that have been already discussed about. I'm very happy to note that CLRI, as one of their major thrust areas, have included sustainability because all of these things are going to play a very major role at least till 2047 and 2070 targets. Next slide, please. So the need or carbon, why there is a need for a carbon footprint, or is there any opportunity there? You all must have understood this by now that every company that is listed have to submit a BRSR report, that is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting, wherein this is an Indian version of the sustainability reports that SEBI has tried to take all the different kinds of methodologies of sustainability reporting and have combined everything into one common, easy to understand BRSR reports. So almost for 2 years, 3 years now, there is a lot of data that has been generated from across industries reporting their sustainability. Apart from it, there is also we are seeing a benchmarking that is taking place for all the products. Benchmarking in terms of their environmental footprint. There is a concept of environmental product declaration, wherein all the products are compared on a similar scale and based on their emission profile, they are rated. Another thing where I think that carbon footprint analysis or life cycle assessment is going to play a major role is CBAM, that is Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. Though leather industry is not included in it, but sooner or later, leather industry is going to be included because majority of our exports, leather exports, are going to European Union, and now they are increasing their stringent norms to address this particular issue. So we'll talk about it, and for CBAM, life cycle assessment is going to play a very major role. Next slide, please. So sustainability, when it comes to sustainability, there are 5 basic things that we have to look out for: clean energy, clean water, zero waste, the ecology carrying capacity, and the community well-being. This is apart from the obvious economic benefits that has to be there. For energy, water, and waste, there is an associated emission, and understanding these emissions is what life cycle assessment is about. Next slide, please. Typically, for every product, there are 5 life cycle stages, right from material mining and processing to product manufacturing, transportation, use phase, and end of life. So if we can take any leather product and try to categorize, we can categorize the entire life cycle of this in these 5 stages. And understanding emissions on all these 5 stages is what is life cycle assessment. Next slide, please. So typically for any industry, the life cycle stages that we saw was for an complete product, but when it comes to process, life cycle assessment talks about gate to gate and different system boundaries, right? So right from manufacturing, utilization, waste collection, recycling. So emissions happening over the entire life cycle or entire supply chain of that product, understanding emissions for it is very important. And life cycle assessment precisely talks about that. Next slide, please. ISO 14044 is the basic guideline that sets all the life cycle assessment in a single order. What ISO says that LC has to be performed in 4 steps, wherein first is goal and scope and system boundary. Second is inventory. third is impact assessment method, and fourth is interpretation. So system boundary, can we go to the next slide? System boundary for typically for any product, right from resources, extraction, its transport, processing and transport to the factory premise comes under cradle to gate, right? All the emissions happening in the manufacturing premises, typically inside the factory premise, are gate to gate emissions, and distribution, use and disposal is from gate to grave. So cradle for any product starts with the starting point of that product, all the raw materials. If we trace back all the raw materials are for any chemical or any product, it will lead to 3 or 4 starting points. One can be mining, second can be agriculture, third can be mining, agriculture, and third can be crude oil. So understanding from where our starting point is there, we can try to analyze which kind of raw materials are better. Precisely, this particular tool helps us in comparing different alternatives. I was attending the inaugural function where we were talking about leather substitute or other materials which are going to be substituted instead of leather. And LCA tool is going to be very important for understanding the overall environmental benefits or any implications that may occur when we are trying to go for or whenever we are trying to have a alternative system. Next slide, please. Typically, once system boundary is set up for leather and footwear, the functional unit can be square meter of leather or one pair of footwear, anything of that sort. So to make that 1 square meter of leather or to make 1 pair of shoes, what are the inputs that are required? Right from quantity of fuel that was consumed, which kind of fuel was used, what kind of electricity was used, how far a raw material is going to travel from the starting point to the factory premise, waste generated, what kind of waste is generated, because if you are going to see if it is aniline based leather, what are the waste streams that are generated, how they are treated, right? And what are the byproducts? If at all, if we are going to focus on extraction of any byproducts from our process, we may have to allocate the emissions in that form. Next slide, please. Once we understand what are the inventory values, what are the basic mass balance and energy balance, we try to model it into softwares where the database is present, and we come up with some midpoint indicator values. One of them is global warming potential, which we actually call it as GHG, right? And next part comes under interpretation. So we can have scope-wise emissions, hotspot identification, and a comparative analysis. So be it scope-wise, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, we are going to talk about it. But all these indicators are going to play a major role, specifically for an industry like leather, where there are a significant amount of waste that is generated and it has to be treated. So even though we see that the emissions happening in the manufacturing phase is not that much, but the waste treatment is going to have a significant impact, right? And that is where LCA would be the deciding tool, which kind of raw material to be used based on what would be the end of life emissions and the overall emission profile of that product. Next slide, please. Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 is clearly defined in the India GHG protocol, wherein Scope 1 emissions are direct emissions happening on the factory premise. Scope 2 emissions are generally emissions pertaining to electricity and purchase steam. And Scope 3 emissions are all other emissions along the supply chain, all combined together. So we can also divide it into 3 parts. One is the upstream activity, reporting company, and the downstream activities. So we need to have a very clear understanding of the entire supply chain, the manufacturing activity, to have a very detailed life cycle assessment for our products. Next slide, please. Benefits of LCA includes we get a better picture. More often it happens that there is going to happen that for one of the alternatives, the manufacturing phase would have a very less contribution in the environmental profile, impact profile, but the use phase is going to be very significant, like in the case of mobiles, right? So once a mobile is manufactured, it is used for a three years, and in that time it is used multiple times, it is charged multiple times. So different products have got different environmental impact profiles, and LCA gives us that insight about the contributions. Discover hotspots, a very important tool, because if there are multiple steps that are used in the process, we need to isolate that step which is going to contribute maximum to the environmental profile, environmental impact profile. So it can be, I can give you an example that if I'm going to manufacture some leather in Nagpur, I will have to transport the hides from any southern part of India city to Nagpur, and this transportation is going to add a significant impact on my environmental impact profile. Third is identify low-hanging fruit. So with LCA, we are able to understand where the pain point is, and if at all any intervention has to be made, it has to be made in those pain areas. And I can give you an example of a product of wherein now we get a powdered hand wash, right? If you look at the profile for hand wash, it is actually surfactant plus water which we purchase, right? But ultimately water is available everywhere, right? So it would be better if we just provide with the surfactant which can get solubilized in water, and we can get liquid soap. So such kind of innovations can be derived after doing a detailed LCA. We can also increase efficiency because all the environmental impact are directly proportional to the resources that are used. So if you are decreasing our dependency on the use of resources, obviously the efficiency is going to increase. Next slide, please. These are the general popular softwares. One is OpenLCA. This is OpenLCA. From the name itself, we can take that it is an open source software wherein we can take some database, feed into that software, and can use some preliminary data. There is a thing that now it is Gabi, and the third one is SEMA Pro. So Gabi and SEMA Pro are the two commercially available software. They have got an academic version as well. All the three softwares on the top that you see, they run on their own dataset, as well as there is a major dataset provider, that is EcoInvent, which provides for all the life cycle data. That is the background data that is required for modeling purpose. Next slide, please. The standards for greenhouse gas reporting, a very clear standard are available. You can just visit the GHG protocol website, and you would be able to understand how to calculate scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 for any business setup. Next slide, please. So research and development opportunities in leather and footwear sector. When I discussed, or when I worked around what are the updates for leather and footwear industry in terms of understanding their environmental impact, I came to know following observations. First was that we as a country have to develop India-specific data sets for leather sector, which we don't have. We have to rely on some other data sets which may or may not be relevant to us. Second is we need, at the same time when we are generating India-specific data sets, we also need to understand, or we need to formulate the guidelines for conducting LCA for leather and footwear. Now, LCA, there is a sufficient literature available for on conduction of life cycle assessment. ISO 14044 states very clearly about how an LCA has to be performed. But we need to have a guideline for leather specific or footwear specific guidelines that would add value. Third is unavailability of reliable inventory values. Now that's where industry comes into the picture. That I have been working with industries for life cycle assessment, and industries are very apprehensive about sharing the kind of data that is required for doing life cycle assessment. So we need to have some understanding with the industry that we can generate reliable, consistent data. And one of the reasons why industry is apprehensive is lack of incentives to participate, right? If at all there is some incentive, if at all there is some regulatory authority that is asking them to do it, then only they'll do it. Also, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive has been implemented in the European Union, and all the large organizations have to report their Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 GHG emissions. And carbon border adjustment mechanism. As per this rule, all the goods imported in European Union will be taxed to promote decarbonization across supply chain. Though leather is not in the list, but sooner or later it is going to be included. Next slide, please. So what is the governmental institution's role? We have been discussing about a national policy for leather and footwear. According to me, we need to have, the role of governmental institution is to provide a roadmap for implementation of carbon footprint for all leather and footwear products. This will give all a level playing field for all the manufacturers. Government would have to provide incentives for companies spearheading the carbon footprint initiatives. Now, this particular thing, all the major corporates have been doing it, but there has to be some incentive for these major corporations who are investing more on sustainability than an MSME. Encourage medium and small scale enterprises for voluntary disclosure. Now, as a governmental institution, we will have to encourage our MSMEs to have voluntary disclosures without any apprehension of being any action taken against them, right? Next, we have to create a repository or database for all leather and footwear products. Now, how to decide a leather made in Nagpur is better than a leather made in Chennai, right? So there has to be some common methodology by which, apart from the price that a consumer is going to pay, the consumer has to be aware about the environmental implications of that particular leather. So it can only happen when we have a repository or a database of all leather and footwear products. Governmental institution would have to encourage brands to publish carbon footprint. There is another concept of eco-labeling, which is not being taken into leather and footwear market, but is very much predominant in construction sector. And last, very important, is to governmental institutions have to provide research funding to support institutions in creating these data sets. So the creation of this data set, having an holistic understanding of how leather is being manufactured in India, we would require a good amount of manpower to be invested into, and to investigate all the various kinds of processes by which leather is made. Next, please. Next slide, please. Research institutions and academia role. Formulate product category rules for consistent carbon footprint LCA for products. Creation of skilled manpower for conducting carbon footprint studies for corporates. Now, to be frank, this particular concept was developed for construction sector, and still we see a large number of people who are not technically sound are doing these assessments for that particular role. right? So creation of skilled manpower is very important. I personally am taking up sustainable engineering course in my university, and the response has been very nice from industry as well as from the students. Provide with technical know-how on addressing the carbon footprint reducing opportunities. So what LCA helps us in is to understand the low-hanging fruits, and that is where the technical inputs will come into picture, as in if you have to decrease our environmental impact by a certain percentage, what are the technological advancements that we have to look out for, is what would be the what would come under the ambit of research institutions. Liaison with governmental institution in validating data submitted. Another very important aspect, that whatever data that governmental institutions are going to create or are going to, the industry is going to submit the data. Validation of that data is very important, and that is where research institutions and academia can play a very major role. Next slide, please. Industry role would be very, at the end of the day, industry has to implement all the things that we all are discussing. So first thing is collaborate with research organization in calculations and disclosure pertaining to carbon footprint. Incentivizing supply chain stakeholders for disclosure. Here I would like to give you a small anecdote of L'Oreal, that L'Oreal had came up with a sustainability challenge, and they said that we are going to decrease our emissions by a certain percentage, and they compelled their suppliers to disclose their emissions. As a result, the entire supply chain of L'Oreal came into the ambit of carbon footprint calculations, and they had to give commitments on reducing the GHG emissions for their particular products. So creation of tier 3 specific data, that is industry specific data set, by mapping the emissions of entire supply chain. Now this may not be possible for a MSME or an SME, but the major corporates can take up this point and can really work because if a major corporation takes these steps, the MSMEs and the SMEs would follow. Developing framework for consistent, reliable and easy data collection pertaining to different products. Evaluation of GHG emission data, this is more or less would be taken care of by the regulatory authority, and sooner or later everyone will have to disclose their GHG data. Allocate funds in developing carbon sequestration projects. India is developing its own voluntary carbon market. The Bureau of Energy Efficiency is taking care of how the specifics or how the market is going to be regulated, and sooner or later everyone will have to allocate some part of their funds, because there are some hard to abate sectors, like if we are going to depend on coal for our thermal needs, we cannot directly shift from coal to some other sources, right? So there are some hard to abate sectors, and there is going to be some emission which is going to happen. Only thing is then we'll have to invest into some other projects which are sequestering carbon. And last, a very important role is industry role is to engage with vendors and customers or sustainability. I have been a part of few companies where they require training of their personnel for understanding the environmental impacts. So this interaction of industry along with academia, research organization is very important, because it not only helps them in upskilling their manpower, but also it helps them in getting good quality data and better or accurate results being published. With this, next slide, please. Yes, this is just a small schematic of whatever we discussed, that government responsibilities, data repository creation, support SMEs, incentives, fund research projects. Universities would be data validation, development of rules, right? And for industry, it would be provide the data, perform rigorous assessment, form consortium with other industries, because this entire data that we are talking about, it would require for the entire footwear industry as a whole. So we will have to form a consortium wherein all the companies, all the major companies have to first take the lead, come up with why I'm saying major companies, because they have the resources. So all the major companies have to form a consortium, maybe through a university. We can make a data set which would make more sense to our sector or India specific sector. So this is all about what I think what should be the R&D needs for implementing the national policy for leather. I'm open for questions. Can you go to the next slide, please? I thank you for everyone for your patient listening. I had been given 10 minutes of time. I might have exceeded that. So apologies for it. And thank you so much for having. I have my contact details in the presentation in the last slide. You go to the next slide. I'm happy to answer any questions if you want. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jagelkar, for your valid inputs. Thank you very much. We will now go to Manoj Bhaiya. Yeah, please.
I see less of industry and more of the student and faculty might as well use the opportunity. Well, good evening to all of you. I have been coming to LERIG since I was a child. My father used to earlier force me to come and join him. That time, LERIG used to happen 2-3 days prior to the leather exhibition. So he would come from Calcutta and insist that we come here. I was very thrilled to receive the invite from Dr. Sriram to be part of the panel. And probably my father would have been proud of me to be that I'm here. Well, I'm sure he's blessing us from there. The stark change, as I see for sure, is that we used to see the industry filled up when I was coming and growing as a child, which I see the empty seats as of now. So probably this is one of the starting points from where, if we need the interaction to come up and we need to develop policies, would happen. And this was one of the reasons why purposely I think we put this diagonally instead of straight, that we first need to align the industry and the academia together to be able to really see the next results. So I had prepared something when I came here, but I see there is a change of panel and there's a change of the audience, so I will probably modify my proceedings. And can we go to the next slide, please? Next, you have it, slide changes here. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay, I guess this speaks for itself, and I think this is the goal probably which we are looking to frame the national footwear policy across and to achieve. So as of now, as we see today, we are at about 12 billion or 19 billion, as they say, and we want to reach at about 47 billion. So this, for sure, speaks for itself and is not possible without R&D and without the involvement of industry and academia together. To achieve this, definitely we will have a lot of challenges. I tried to point out few challenges by collecting the data from the industry perspective. I realized that we will have a lot more informed people and much more qualified people here on the scientific side. So I took a little bit of more elementary approach to collect some basic data and to benchmark where the industry today is, so that we can really look at what issues we need to address and prioritize to achieve our goal. And as one of my professors in my MBA years would tell me, the marketing professor would tell us that data speaks for itself. If you have to speak too much about your assessment and your performance, that means you have not achieved your number. Otherwise, your number will speak for itself. So I thought, let me collect some basic data. So the starting challenge, as we see, we have spoken about many platforms, is component manufacturing and design capabilities. DGCI Statistics 23 shows we import about 400 million annually, 65% coming from China. We have high dependency on import of high performance material and specialized component. And I was pleasantly surprised and happy to see when Dr. Sriram told us that leather is not going to be the only material. I have personally been part of many forums where I have been advocating this point, that we need to even change the way we address the academy and the courses to train our people to have alternate materials, with leather being one of the materials. So this, if I were to put it in perspective, $400 million is equivalent to annual production of 2,000 SME units. This number speaks for itself, and this is the kind of job which we are exporting outside. The R&D infrastructure, I picked up this data somewhere from the net. I not validated, didn't have enough time, so I'm not too sure. But primarily, if you look at it, the number of testing laboratories and the patent. You know, we are talking about being the second largest manufacturer of footwear, and we produce 2.6 billion pairs. But we are at 1% of global design patent. This clearly speaks about where we lie on the value chain in the world production center. What's holding us back? If you see the McKinsey latest fashion report reveals that 12% of Indian infrastructure use integrated digital supply chain. Order to delivery life cycle is 45 to 60 days for us. Vietnam achieves in 25 to 30 days. Our inventory holdings are 18 to 22% of the cost, whereas global benchmark is 12%. We don't have industry people here, otherwise I would have really asked how many of us have really done digital, supply chain tracking. I know for sure, I have visited Naushad sir's facility and I have seen how they work and how they track. It is something, a landmark to really go and see. Environmental compliances, we heard about carbon footprint, we heard about, the LCA, and, the Urea 23 report shows we use about 40 liters of water against global best practices of 25 liters per pair. Our carbon footprint is 3.1 as against 2.2 of a global average. We spoke briefly about the, green deadline 27 approaching. So this isn't only about environment. We talk about $2 billion of market access which is at stake and which you need to really address. Quality, I think this remains the Achilles heel. Many of you are familiar with Achilles. If not, this is a Greek mythological character who by his mother was dipped into the river Styx so that he became immortal. So only part of his body by which he could be killed upon was the heel where his mother was holding him when he dipped in the river. And the Trojan War was won only when the arrow was hit in his heel. Same is the issue for us for quality. We really need to address this and hit it there. Bureau of Indian Standards has shown rejection rate at about 14.8%, which translates to about 4,000 crores annually. It's just not about inspection. It's about fundamental process transformation. And we spoke about it a few minutes before in the inaugural address when Dr. Shriram addressed about it. Workforce development. None of these challenges are possible without addressing this challenge. LSSC SCIP shows 36% of our have formal training, 60% workforce needs upskilling. We really need to do on foundation skills. Before we go to VRs and ARs and the new technologies, we need to really look at the basics. Digital pattern making, modern lasting techniques, quality control systems. Well, I can go on with the problems, but I think I was also proposed to be giving some solutions on the way forward for which I was invited. I guess somewhere on the internet I wrote that, CSIR-CLRI has projected a focused investment of about 800 crores. I expect it up to 1,000 crores, probably imagining by the time we go there, it will come to that need. This can help us achieve reduction in component import by 35%, cut testing time to 15 days. Today it is about 35 days as per CLE data. Lower rejection rate to 8% from the 14% where we are today, and generate 500 new patents annually. Where we should be focusing, these are the 3 areas where I had pointed out across. Material research and testing, where we can do advanced polymer development, India-specific testing protocols, rapid prototyping. We see the emergence of 3D and the use in all the aspects of footwear manufacturing. Process innovation, energy-efficient manufacturing, digital process integration, and sustainable technologies. We already spoke about it a lot. Timeline, I think we can address this along with the National Manufacturing Policy, Year 1 infrastructure, 2, 3 and innovation in patent development. This is my favorite state. If we invest right in the R&D, there is no reason why we cannot make researched and developed in India. Instead of just saying doing R&D in India, this needs to be the new global standards for footwear. This could be our future, but only if we act now. The cost of delay is too high, and the opportunity is too great to lose. Thank you.
So I think we have gone through three discussions. So when we think about the national footwear policy, so government have a clear vision that we have to be the market leader in footwear and allied industries with a clear target. So when we see the past 10 years or 20 years, so when we take only the footwear, leather footwear, so we were at about $2 billion 10 years back. We were above in footwear, not the allied industries, only footwear, leather footwear. 20 years back also we were about $2 billion. Now also we are around $2 billion. We have slightly declined. We have not grown. So when we set this ambitious target, and when we see the non-leather, it is 0.4 billion. We have not grown in that also, not much. And when we consider Vietnam, they have grown from 5 billion for past 10 years itself. They have grown from 5.9 billion to around 20 billion, 19.8 billion something. Leather also they have grown very. China, you know, because even though they are not focusing footwear, still they are at $40 billion. So in non-leather, we are 0.04. For this 0.04, we are importing 65 to 80% raw material. So it's a very pathetic condition. We have to be shameful that we are not doing much. Because as Manojji told, the figures is reflecting what we are doing. So, and I'm very happy to see that now things are changing and we are focusing on different things. Even now, there are different types of R&Ds happening. One is basic R&D. So basic raw material formulation is not available for MSMEs in India. It should be provided either free of cost or with a minimal cost. Then the current R&D, because China has reached some level or other countries have reached some level. So we have to support, we have to work together and reach at least that level. So that is to be done immediately, otherwise all the import will happen, will continue. The third thing is futuristic, future-ready industry. Because if we want to be the global leader as per the government vision, we have to be competitive. If we want to be competitive, we have to be innovative, and we need scale also. And we have to, if we want scale means we have to do the export also. Because now the consumer has changed. Everybody wants the best product only. No one is ready to compromise with a second type of product. So if it is not available in India, things will come from outside India. So if we are ready to give products to our customer, the world also will buy the same products. So these changes we need to bring. Sir, I think with this condition, I think this is to be interactive. There is no point in telling from one side. So I expect a good interaction. and I invite for interaction. Thank you, sir.
So friends, what we were looking at was for interaction. Unfortunately, the moment I decided that this meeting would be a hybrid, I expected this situation, that including CLRI people would attend it through their systems rather than coming here and sitting and interacting. Till yesterday evening, I was of the view that this whole LERIG will not be hybrid, rather physical, but for some reason we did it hybrid, and it's effect of technology. So let me apologize for that first. But more than that, if we were to look at the R&D, what I would understand from the industry side, both today morning in the Research Council of CLRI and today as we speak, R&D, whatever we do, now certain aspects have to be kept as basic minimum requirements. We cannot do a separate R&D for it. For example, sustainability has to be embedded into any technology that we develop. It cannot be a sustainable technology versus non-sustainable technology. That kind of research themes are no longer existing. Whatever technology is there now needs to be raw material, chemical, aspects like LCA, agnostic. You cannot develop a leather chemical and say that this cannot be used for a non-leather material coating. Possibly we need a coating which can be with some fine-tuning applied on, say, textile or leather or PU or PVC or anything, because you won't get chemical manufacturers to manufacture everything differently. So this is something which is there. Within leather, we have been talking about raw material agnostics, like a technology should be for Indian cow, Kanpur buffalo should also work under that, goat, cow, etc. But today we are more talking about leather as one among the materials, and therefore any technology that we talk about has to be material agnostic. So if I am making a material for footwear, whether it is the vegan leather lights or leather or PU or PVC or a laminate, it is immaterial today. So that's where we researchers will have new challenges, and therefore the very research aspect itself is becoming more agnostic in character. Last 2-3 weeks before, we have been talking in various forums, including the Ministry of Environment and Forests. The aspect of this waste-related things has been blown up very well. Now it is not mere waste to wealth. One aspect which MOEF Secretary herself was pointing out was that people have waste to wealth technologies, but the waste converted into the wealth is creating more waste than the waste itself. So there now the policy of environmental systems is going to be wherein it's circularity embedded with waste to wealth, and the wealth that we are talking about is not 1 rupee, 2 rupee enhancement, but a very high value enhancement. And this is where we talked about this cosmeceutics or pharmaceutics, those kind of things. Of course, in leather, we spoke about, first we spoke about vegetable tanning, then from there we came to chromium, then we said alternative metals, then we said metal-free. When we said metal-free, we said we'll go back to vegetable tannins, but now with the deforestation guidelines, we don't know where we will go. So the going of science, whether it is for tanning properties or for fillers, absolutely we don't know what should be the starting material, because by the time we develop something, there is a rule or a regulation coming from somewhere in the world which is against that raw material itself. So this is something which we all will have to be guided about. The only way that we can talk about as guided is research now seems to be in a level wherein the speed matters. By the time we think that we will do this, I think we need to complete the research aspect also. Today morning itself, one of my colleagues was saying that this work will take about 2 years. The council said not 2 years, less than a year. That's the kind of need that we are talking about. So I think what is needed is more of an integration. There is no question of a central leather research institute or a FDDI or any one of us standing separately and working in silos. There needs to be more integrated approaches. There's need to understand the world better. not just sitting in India and looking at India-specific technologies. We are today talking about, when we talk about agnostic technologies, we are talking about globally acceptable technologies as well. So these are the challenges that we talk about. 2030 or 2047 is not going to be that very far. And if that value has to be there, technology should be ready at least 15 years ahead. So this is what we have here. My request once again to all of you and to those people who are online, etc., since we are not able to have an interactive session, my request would be that please mail us anything that you would like to have a suggestion or anything, and we can take it forward. But before we close, the session is open. If any one of you who is in the forum would like to raise a point, please make it short and make it immediately. Yeah, please.
Yes, since I am studied polymer technology, could you explain how polymers would help in better commodities for related to textiles, and I also want to better clarity on carbon footprint point.
I didn't get your first question, sir.
First question is, since I'm a graduate in polymer technology, I want to know how the polymers will help in leather commodities business.
Okay.
My friend is also exporting leather commodities, so that is.
Fine. Sir, to be very, very brief, today we don't have anything called as a leather product. The days of 100% leather is over. If I take a footwear, 40% is the maximum leather that I can find. I'm right, I hope, on the footwear. Apparels have a backing of textile and other materials, and so on and so forth. When we come to footwear alone, leather alone is not going to make up for our requirements. The need is increasing. So when we talk about polymer also as one among the material for consumer products, like such as footwear or even goods, which we call as leather goods in the past, the polymer also will have to meet all the regulations that we are talking about with respect to leather. The absence of REACH regulated chemicals, the need for biodegradability, or the need for soil-based decomposability, etc., etc. So when it comes to things, if it is for a consumer-oriented product, irrespective of whether it is leather or polymer-based or anything, the regulations are going to be the same. This is one commodity which is going to be in touch with the skin of the wearer, and therefore, alongside the regulations, we also have to take care about the human health aspect of all these materials. So that is very constant. So it's not that about leather or polymer. The number of biodegradable polymers in the market itself is very low. And unless otherwise we have the biodegradable polymers per se, any one of these materials, whether you call it PVC or PU or anything, the sustainability wise, the number of years are counted. Because under defined conditions, the material has to degrade. That's a norm in the future. Yeah. See, the carbon footprint in general, in very, very simple terms, is the amount of carbon that is going into the manufacturing and the amount of carbon that we are going to let out into the soil. So if your let out carbon to the soil is much, much higher than the carbon input that came in because of addition of chemicals, energy, etc., then you are going to be carbon negative. So the whole idea is that we need to move towards carbon neutrality, wherein either you find mechanisms to keep the carbon live, in the sense don't dispose of as landfills. Make new products, refurbish it, recycle it, whatever you want to do, you do it, or even make high value products out of the waste. The carbon should not end up in landfills. Even if some carbon ends up in landfills, you will have to, as an industry person,
take care of the environment by whatever carbon negativity that you created, do carbon positive activities such as planting of trees, etc., etc. So this is the whole thing which is being talked about. Only thing which you have to take into consideration is not just that this is your manufacturing alone is counted, right from your raw material buying to transport to arrival in your factory and ending it up in the shop floor, user, and finally disposal by the user. Everything is part of the carbon chain that you have to take care of. Okay? Fine.
I think while we are addressing the issues of R&Ds for tomorrow, I kind of agree with Naushad sir's point that there are ample of technologies which have been developed across various institutes in India, which probably either have lost their relevance today because they would have become outdated, but since we are a country of large population and most of our consumption at this moment is on the economical side of these, so some of these technologies may still be valid, but only if they are made accessible to people. Because the interface with the institute today is either only for large people or for future technologies. But this resource bank which we have got, if we can capitalize somehow by offering it at concessional price or listing it on the website that this can be available, I think the MSME sector can benefit quite significantly.
Sir, possibly that is doable because I can take clue from one of my own sister labs, the Central Food Technology Research Institute, CFTRI. What CFTRI has done is, after a few years, some of the very lowly priced technologies, they just put it on their website. The document is available for anybody to download. So small startups would take the document. All that they have to do is to inform CFTRI that I'm using your technology. So that kind of an methodology we can also develop. We will try to do that as well. The waterless chrome tanning technology that we developed has been put in that format. The technology is not priced today. It's available free for the tanners. Only thing is that if they want us to come to their place to demonstrate, etc., they have to take care of the logistics. So this is what we have done. And that's one reason why the number of licenses in the waterless chrome tanning drastically went up to 200 odd today. So that's something which is doable, sir. And we will look at those which are taken and done. But I'll also like to add to you, sir, that on the first part of the thing which you spoke about, one project which we have just taken to create leather chemicals for upholstery. We have taken it as a CSIR mission. What we have done is that we made it very clear we are not going to make even a single chemical newly. Each property for the upholstery is known. My sister labs in the CSIR system had developed a fire retardant or a super hydrophobic material or something for some other application. They hold the IP. Now I am telling them, please let us work together. Let us see whether we can tune it for leather or other applications. So we save a large number of years of development and we save on the duplication. So the whole idea is in 2 to 3 years time, I should be in a position to convert a large number of technologies which have already been transferred to the industry for some other purpose for repurposing for leather as well. So that industry itself is making the molecule in large quantity. Our fat liquor manufacturer just needs to buy that from them, put it into the fat liquor, and make us a fire retardant fat liquor or whatever. So this is something which we are working on. So we will continue to enhance both of these in a manner that we can do. In fact, I was telling in the RC meeting today that there might be a lot of polymeric materials available within the CSIR system itself, developed for something else. Let us see whether we can repurpose it for our applications because those institutes have never focused on footwear. So we will try to work on those things.
As we spoke last time, a lot of aspiration for footwear is now coming from textile. Yeah. And there's a lot of technology probably already on the coatings and other things available. That can be very helpful in terms for integrating with our processes here.
Here again, sir, we are trying to tie up with the BITRA, who are working on laminated textiles and technical textiles. Let me see something would work out from there.
plastic, that what will be printing plastic for the silver company. Then you and your person approached us that can we do that this person, and then we work together. So similar is the approach that we have lot of expertise into the polymer what Sri Ram sir has done together is. In polyurethane we are comfortable. Any polyurethane you tell, including non-isocyanate or any type of coating, whatever you tell, this is the power within CSIR. We have, if you will see, Google also will patent, starting from earlier there was 5 type of polyurethane, but now it is 8 type of polyurethane. So those type of system is there. The moment we are talking about vegan leather and this one, leather like materials that whatever we are making, it is nothing but acting as a polymer, as a binder to stick together. The latest innovation, what I would like to put one time, I belong to Bihar, in Bhagalpur, one IIT person has went and he has started making this leather-like material from banana. And it's a big startup. He has gone to another level. So this binder is the core, and your person has done wonderful job. I was seeing that how you are motivated because he knows leather. I was not knowing leather, but I know how to add flexibility. I know how to put shiny, those type of system. So this interdisciplinary approach will help there.
Thank you, sir. We would like to thank the moderators and the speakers for leading such an insightful discussion. And may I request our director, Dr. K.J. Sriram, to present a memento to Sri Manoj Bhaiya, sir, who's president of CNE Limited. Thank you, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude the panel discussion and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow with not one but 3 engaging panel discussions and also the Professor Y. Naidama lecture by our DGCSR, Dr. N. Kalaiselvi. Thank you so much.